All right. Join with me today is Taco Shooter. What's up, my guy?
I'm the best.
Nice. So we did a video about Dark Dimension 6, which was titled Don't Upgrade Weaver. And we're going to give some clarification on that because we have some new information, which I think is incredibly useful. And a lot of people have been talking about Apocalypse being a waste and going through Dark Dimension 6 without Apocalypse. And so we're going to talk about that first because you do know somebody that is going through Dark Dimension 6 without Apocalypse. And tell me what that's like. How is that going down?
You know, so it's sort of a two-part story, like good news, bad news, right? So on the good news is it is working. The bad news is it's sort of drawn out for him. Now, that being said, you know, he's obviously taking Apocalypse through because he doesn't have Apocalypse available at the moment. And it's going to be a while as he goes through all these nodes. But the first node he was able to get through in 18 attacks. Second node, approximately a week ago, he's a little more than halfway through with 15 attacks. And that last node obviously is going to be a super challenge without Apocalypse. But it can happen. I think it's just going to feel very similar to Dark Dimension 3. For those of you that played Dark Dimension 3 when it first dropped, especially before Phoenix was there, it was a beast. Yeah. And it was just slamming your head into the wall.
Yeah, and so the general feeling that I'm getting from everybody that is going through Dark Dimension 6, including yourself, is that Apocalypse is doing half of the work on those global nodes. So I got a message from one of my mods, Nah, you know Nah, and he is going through Dark Dimension 6 with Weaver and Doom, which was initially, Doom was considered to be problematic in the third node of global because of the number of archangels and then the dark beasts reviving them. I mean, it was a mess. And like in the last video that I put up was like Doom, Ultron, probably not a good idea. And then also Weaver was also considered to be not super helpful, but I wanted to read what he said here because he just finished global. Here's my team, 6 attacks. Everyone did their part. OG Cap giving the energy, Black Widow, which I finally decided to take Black Widow myself. Black Widow, the speed up, and buff seal. I'd say Apocalypse was 50% of the team. His empowered basic was huge, but Doom plus Apocalypse was amazing because Apocalypse is going to feed all that turn meter to Apocalypse, right? That sounds bonkers good, except for in the third node. And I'm going to let you give your comments on this here. Doom always took Apoc for the ride, which got him to ult that much quicker. Honestly, no regrets across the board. No one was just there. Everyone did their thing. Having gotten use out of the investments elsewhere, Node 5 is super, super tricky, which was what we were talking about, but very doable. The AAs with Doom can wreck you. Then the Dark Beasts bring the AAs back. We're talking about Archangels, which that is not a good idea with Doom because they're dying and then he's pinging and lowering turn meter and all kinds of problems, right? You get too many with AO Doom. It's DD3 level. Then, see, that's what it's talking about, DD3 level, right? Then with the Zombie Iron Man's Hells, it could be rough, but I did it with minimal investment. So what's your take on that? Because he's saying is like, I got through it eventually, and he's like, well, I'm still waiting for Cosmic. I don't have my Cosmic ready to go. So what does it matter, right? Or is it just like, what's your take on Weaver, Doom, and Apocalypse in Dark Dimension 6?
Doom in Dark Dimension 6, in the first 2 nodes, Doom is almost a hard carry. He does so well. He becomes a liability in the third node in particular, the third global node, and it's because of those AAs, especially if there's multiple AAs on the field, your entire team just gets erased after you ult. And so that's a legitimate problem, but it's not insurmountable. And to his point, you know, you just have to manage where you sort of fall off and manage your cooldowns. And, you know, for those of you watching, if you're doing your Dark Dimension run, grab an alliance mate, get them to read to you when those waves are dropping so that you can manage those characters and what you have out there. As far as Weaver goes, Weaver is phenomenal everywhere in this game.
Everywhere else, yeah.
Like Crucible, gotta have her. War, gotta have her. Arena, for a long time, she was the arena meta. She still has use, in other places. She's definitely better than bringing in Red Guardian or Echo or Dark Beast or Zemo. But is she the best available option? That's where there's a little bit of disconnect. Like, no, she's not one of the best available options, or she's not part of the best available option. She's like a second or third tier option, which is not a bad place to be by any stretch of the imagination. And, she's reasonably affordable. She's not overly expensive. So there's value in bringing her. Her biggest problem is that she's Mystic. That's her biggest problem.
That's the whole problem with the entire Dark Dimension 6 is Mystic, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about what you've used so far and what you've liked, what you not liked. And then I want to talk about Big Time Spider-Man and talk about Black Cat, right? Because you've changed your plans a little bit. I mean, the last time we did this video, we were saying anything but Mystic, next legendary, anything but Mystic. And now we've got Black Cat, which uses 66 pieces, which are total 3 slots. So let's take a look at what you did. So you went into global with APOC, Titania, Quicksilver, Black Widow, and Captain Sam. How did that go for you?
It went great. Like I said, had to restart a few times on each node. I think the first node was the only one where I was able to one shot, and I did that on the first attempt, so that went really, really well. Second node, I did a 2-tap. Third node, I think I did a 3-tap on the third node. I wanted to bring in Emma as opposed to Titania, but waiting for that, I just didn't have the mutant pieces, so that wasn't a thing. So I brought in Titania. She did really well. Another good option for me there would have been OG Captain America. His immunity that he gives, plus giving more energy to APOC on top of the energy that Cap Sam gives out, and there would have been a little bit more value there. But Widow was, aside from Apocalypse, and don't get me wrong, Apocalypse was amazing. Quicksilver, I stand by as the second best character available for the node. Black Widow was low-key the MVP. Her speed up is so important because, again, when you're talking about how these nodes work, it's all about speed. It's all about managing how the waves fall and making sure you get more turns than your opponents. And she's got a short cooldown on her special. Right. And, of course, her stun never misses because it has a bazillion% focus increase. And she was probably the MVP outside of obviously Apocalypse.
Yeah, so all I've decided on for global myself personally is APOC, Quicksilver, Black Widow, and I'm going to do OG Cap. And then the last one, like you were talking about Emma, I'm thinking maybe Gambit, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not 100% sure. Now, you just started Cosmic and you took Stitcher in as opposed to, let's say, Kestrel, I guess? What's going on there?
Yeah, so Kestrel was on my chopping block, and it hurt my heart to do it because I'm, who the hell is Kestrel? I don't know, but she's great. She's really, really good at what she does. The defense down, the pings, the stripping buffs, just such a good character. But everybody that I'm familiar with that used Kestrel said she was the one thing they would have changed, and that she wasn't that great. And ultimately, she does use, the skill, the Gear 18 skill pieces for 2 pieces there, and then the tech isn't an issue. And so since tech wasn't an issue, I looked at Stitcher, dirt cheap, costs nothing. And again, this is all about resource management for these next nodes. And it just, the more I thought about it, I was just like, I can wait for Kestrel, but then that's going to delay me on other characters that I need down the road. Or I can just go in with Stitcher. I mean, I've got Vol, I've got Kang.
Right.
That's really what you need. And then Moondragon and Phyla, they've got great synergy together. And, Infinity Watch apparently is never going to fall off.
They're pretty strong.
As being a top tier team.
They're pretty strong, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's not the full team. You don't get the safeguard and stuff, but investing in them isn't going to hurt you because you're going to use the whole team elsewhere.
Right. And so I'm sold on Kang and Vol, and I've already took Kang to 18 myself. Now, City is a mess, and a lot of people are swearing by Cloak and Dagger. It looks like you've gone a different direction, and how that experience turns out for you remains to be seen. What I wanted to ask you is about Big Time Spider-Man. That was the big question in our last video, is where is Big Time Spider-Man? Now, people have tried it. Tell me how that's gone out. You've talked to some people that have tried it, right? And
yeah, so I've talked to people that tried it, and literally before we started making this video, I'd never had a single person that tried it that was happy with the results of their Big Time. I'm guessing it has to do with the size of the character, because most people don't have them really built up. I've got somebody in chat right now that it does have a sus G-Man, and he said that Big Time did really well for him in DD6. So it's going to be, I guess it's going to end up being a mixed bag, and it's going to depend on when you're going into Dark Dimension 6 city nodes in particular, and how well he's built. But right now, in 800 cores a day, like...
No, but here's the thing is, like, right now, a lot of people are just coming into a 4 yellow, right? And then maybe by the time that I get there, it'll be a 5 yellow or a 6 yellow. And then that changes the conversation, because the thing about Dark Dimension 6 is that it's actually hard. And you need stats. And you need stats. And so when does a new character like Big Time Spider-Man's, which has amazingly better stats than, let's say, a character that came out 2 years ago, where is the break-even point on that? Specifically because Big Time Spider-Man is tech, which is, other than Kang, what is there to do with tech?
Wide open.
It's wide open, right? There's very little to do with tech other than Kang. And so maybe that's a good use. I mean, and you've played against Infestation and War. It's literally about the size of the Big Time Spider-Man. As soon as he goes down, the rest of the team kind of crumbles, right?
And you know, sort of speaking of those new stats, you know, they're not the only city characters that just came out. Like, we've got the new Miss Marvel, we've got the new Ghost Rider. New Ghost Rider, I think, is going to be pretty low on people's list because it is another Mystic character. The new Miss Marvel going to be super stat heavy, big taunter, which means your weaker tunes are able to survive. And you know, her special and her ult are heavy taunt, and she's just got a lot of beef to her to be able to take those punches.
All right, and then last video we were talking about the non-horseman legendary, and the 3 that were universally okay was Nova, Shuri, and Omega Red, and then we were torn apart with Nick Fury and Doc Ock, and very easily Black Cat slots in here. I can see you've done that. I feel like that's a no-brainer, because the problem with the last node is you're not going to, you know, we're talking about the legendary or Apocalypse, the very last set of nodes. You're not going to be able to use Doc Ock and Nick Fury there, right? They're not going to work. You need to have a horseman, right, in the last nodes with Apocalypse, right?
Right, correct.
Or a new legendary like Nova or Black Cat, because they have the stats, right? The new characters have the stats, right?
Correct. Yeah, the legendary or Apocalypse node, obviously the vast majority of people that make it this far most likely have Apocalypse unlocked. I don't... Can you do it without Apocalypse? Yes. Do you want to? No, you don't want to. You know, Apocalypse is so important everywhere else. But again, back to this focus. Going in with a Apocalypse and 4 non-horseman legendary is not going to feel good. It's gonna feel real bad. It's gonna feel like doing global without Apocalypse. It's just not gonna be a comfy ride. To your point, Black Cat, she's got the new stats for the new meta. Nova's got the new stats for the new meta. Omega Red is not completely fallen off from top meta stats. Shuri, of course, is just a battery for everybody. So she's got value, but the rest of them, like you go into those you go into the legendary or Apocalypse with Nick Fury or Doc Ock or Jubilee or Magneto, and you're gonna get wrecked.
Yeah, and then a lot of people might be going through these nodes when the next legendary comes out, and as long as that next legendary is not Mystic, that's also probably going to get green lit for a lot of people, right? Because Mystic is the problem right now. Mystic is the problem, and then hopefully availability of Gear 18 is better by then, and we will have to see. All right, so in general, to wrap up the video, Is Apocalypse mandatory for Dark Dimension 6, in your opinion, as of right now today?
I think you're cutting off your nose to spite your face without Apocalypse. That being said, is it mandatory? No. It just depends how much pain you're willing to take, and some people like that. Yeah. So I mean, can it be done? Yeah. It's gonna take a minute. You know, it's not like you're bringing in AIM.
If you don't have Apocalypse and you do DD6, you're my hero. You be my hero. If anybody gets through DD6 without Apocalypse, I want to know about it, because getting Apocalypse is absurd. Can you imagine starting the game right now and having someone explain to you how to unlock Apocalypse and the process for getting Apocalypse? It seems overwhelming. I hope they simplify it or have some sort of in-game tutorial or eliminate some of the carrot. I don't know what they're going to do, but it seems almost unreasonable. Anyways, head over to Taco Shooter's channel. You've got tons of great stuff. You've got a great Cosmic Crucible video and other DD6 videos. And as always, bye for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye. Photon's not trash either. We forgot to talk about her, but she doesn't suck.
Oh yeah, Photon's very good, by the way. Yeah.
Somebody would say something.
Yeah, I forgot about Photon. Yeah.
All right.